Hello everyone, I hope you'll be able to see me properly because I'm trying out some new lighting. Today I wanted to talk to you about how to keep your bright colours bright. And as you can see, with unnatural hair colours like this, you have to take a little bit of extra care in order for the colours to stay bright as long as possible. Now, one thing you can do in that regard is use the appropriate dye. I have tried several different brands at this stage, and they include Manic Panic, Directions, Special Effects, and I have also tried Paintbox in the past. And I have almost completely stopped using Manic Panic, or at least buying it. I'm still using up some ends I bought earlier. It washes out quite quickly, and that's the reason I don't like using it very much, because if you're doing a difficult dye job you want it to stay longer than 2 weeks, otherwise yeah, there is really no point. Now, Special Effects is on the other end of the spectrum. If you want a long-lasting hair dye, then that is definitely one to go for, and I've gotten beautiful results that lasted a long time, but sometimes I want to switch it up a bit more often, so that's how I usually end up using Directions, because Directions allows me to change often but also still not have to dye it every 2 weeks. I average changing colours about every 1.5 to 2 months. It depends a little bit on the colours I use. Even within these brands, even though Special Effects is more long lasting maybe than Manic Panic, there are some colours of each brand that are better than others. In general, the darker colours stay longer than the lighter ones, especially the pastel colours or diluted colours are gone quite quickly. But also, for example, just to name one, Manic Panic Electric Banana is one of those colours that just keeps on going. And so most brands have a shade that will last quite a long time. And in Special Effects I found that Deep Purple is a very long lasting colour, Blue Velvet is very long lasting, and I have not personally used it, but from what I've heard, Atomic Pink is near impossible to remove. Directions, I would say that Turquoise is a very persistent colour. There's a bit of a toss-up. On the one hand you want your colour to stay long, but on the other hand, if it stains your hair it can be hard to remove it, go back to natural colours if you were so inclined, or switch colours, especially if you're going from sort of cooler tones to warmer or vice versa. Another good way to keep your colours bright is, of course, bleaching it as light as possible. Well, of course, there are some downsides to that. It is, especially for darker haired people, a lot harder to do that than people who are naturally blonde. I'm lucky that my natural hair colour is a dark blonde, and I only have to bleach it once in order for it to be quite a light blonde, and I can dye it over immediately. But if you have starting off with black hair, you may have to bleach it twice or maybe even 3 times, and it's obviously not very good for the hair. So yeah, we have to be gentle for the hair because the bleaching is the part that does the damage. You want the hair follicle to open up a little bit. That's one of the reasons why you're bleaching it. Obviously also to make it lighter, but also to open up the hair follicle so the semi-permanent dye can penetrate properly. But after you're done dyeing, you sort of want to close up that hair follicle again. So I have in the past used a vinegar rinse after dyeing in order for to drop the pH again, and that will make the hair follicles close and therefore lock in the dye, but also make it look shinier. Now, I don't do this every time. I've had a bit of a hassle. I often forget about it as well, but it is one of those things you can do to make your colour last a bit longer. The other ones I'll be mentioning are probably a bit obvious. You don't want to wash your hair too hot. One reason for that is that it's, one, not very good for your hair, but two, also it opens up the hair follicles again, and lets out the dye. So the colder you wash it, the better it is for your hair colour. Now, especially in winter, I'm not that hardcore. In summer I can sometimes stand to do my hair cold, and well, the rest of my body I wash in warmer water, and in the winter I may turn it down a bit to maybe a lukewarm to do my hair, but still on my body I would turn up the heat a bit. Obviously you want to avoid using hair tools as much as possible. I do occasionally use it, and if you do, I would recommend you use something like a heat protectant, especially if you have a heat protectant with a UV filter that has the added bonus that once you go out into the sun or outside, doesn't even have to be the sun, there's also UV when the sun isn't out, that will protect the hair also from influence of the bleaching properties of UV, because UV is another one that will totally pull out any hair colour over time. Now if you live in a very sunny country, this is going to be more pronounced, or even in the summer it's worse than in the winter, but it is something you may want to think about, to use a leave-in conditioner, or like I said, a heat protectant with a UV protector, or even your some of the colour care shampoos and conditioners will have a UV filter in it, and that is a very good thing to have if you have brightly coloured hair. As I mentioned in one of my previous hair care routine videos, you may want to look for a shampoo and maybe a conditioner that is colour safe, and as I mentioned in that video as well, so sulphates are still quite bad for your colour, so I'm still looking for a sulphate-free shampoo that will be good for my colour. I haven't as yet found one that I'm totally happy with, but I'm continuing on my search, so I'll let you know once I have a product to recommend. Well, basically all the things that are good in regard to keeping your hair healthy are generally quite good to preserve hair colour. So use a mask, and this will also, most conditioners and masks have a lower pH, so it will close those hair follicles and make your hair shiny, and also lock in any hair colour any hair dyes you have in there. Also it will make your hair shinier, which makes your hair colour pop more because it looks more saturated than it may actually be. Also, if your hair is damaged and you are using dyes on it, go for darker colours, because the pastels will bring out the flyaways and the brittleness of it a lot more than darker colours. The dark colours saturate the hair more and make it look shinier than it might actually be. So these are a couple of tricks to sort of trick the eye more than maybe keep it healthy, but yeah, it's one of those things that you may want to take into account when dyeing your hair in natural colours. In general, just be nice to your hair. Make sure you brush it before you go and shower. Make sure you brush it before you go to bed when you get up in the morning. Just detangle it completely. When I had it a bit longer, I always put my hair into a twist or a braid before going to bed, because this prevents the hair from tangling, and the less it moves around while you sleep, the better it is for it. Also, try not to be very rough when drying your hair. Towel dry doesn't have to mean that you go like madly rubbing it. You just have to sort of wrap the towel around and leave it sit for a little bit, and that will make it drier as well. Let me think, what else can I think of? Yeah, I forgot to say, when I say using heat tools, I also mean blow drying. I try to give it a pass as much as possible. Sometimes I have to, because I have to go out, or I don't particularly like sleeping with very wet hair, but if you're doing that, just blow dry it halfway or something like that. Don't completely blow dry it, and at least there's some moisture in there to keep the hair strands a bit happier. Oh yeah, swimming pools is another one that will totally pull out all your hair colour if you're unlucky. So if you like swimming, you have to be careful with try and keep your hair as dry as possible. You could maybe put a top knot in or something, or even wear a swimming cap, although that may look a bit funny. I've heard that it might help as well if you put in some conditioner before you go and swim and protect the hair a little bit. It's not going to obviously completely erase any harm that the chlorine might do, but yeah, it's something to be aware of if you like swimming, and especially if you are on holidays and have a swimming pool and the sun. These two can really pull out the hair colour really quite quickly. Something to be aware of. That's all I can think of for now. If there's any other tips or tricks, please leave them in the comments below for others to view. And I hope this was useful to someone, and I will see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.